do painting, to do all of the other stuff in the inside of the tank. And so typically when those are when it's constructed, that's part of the part of what's designed in the inside. And so there was no ladder constructed in the inside of it. So so that needs to be use that for maintenance, use that for ingress, egress during projects like we're doing right now.
Question for you, sir.
Yeah.
When the inspection was done in preparation for this job, they sent a camera in, was it not noticed at that point that there was no ladder?
There actually was. It was part of the report, and it said in the report, include or a ladder should be a ladder with, and Jeff and I actually talked about it. It said a ladder with a safety restraining device.
OSHA cable, wasn't it an OSHA cable?
With an OSHA safety restraining device should be provided. Well, I looked at that and I see these all the time, and that's what they put on in the report. Even when there's a ladder in there, the company that does it always puts in there, because they always want to, I call it upsell you, to put a new safety restraining device on the ladders all the time.
So would the company that did that inspection, is it the same company that bid and got the project?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah, completely different. And so I looked at it and said, well, they're just trying to upsell us to put a new safety restraining device on the ladder. Okay. What they were talking about is no, there was no ladder or safety restraining device.
But it never says simply in the report, there's no ladder.
There's no ladder at all. Yeah. So the painter said, hey, there's no ladder in there at all. I said, no, there's got to be a ladder in there. There has to be a ladder. So there's no ladder. So that's one issue that we ran into. Second issue that we ran into is when they did the video inspection on the tank, and when we wrote up the specs, there was only a few small minor corrosion spots in the inside of the tank, mainly where they had welded the antennas, the supports for the cellular antennas on the inside of the tanks. So when we wrote the specifications for the paint job in the inside wet portion of the tank, what we did was we just said power tool clean those, prime those spots, and repaint those spots on the inside wet portion of the tank. So when they dropped the water out of the inside of the tank, they started working on those, and there was a couple of other small spots that were in there, maybe the size of a basketball or whatever, that there was only a few. So they went in, they started working on those. Well, all of a sudden there was sheets of paint size, and I think, Linda, did you distribute those to?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got the pictures. All of a sudden there was some sheets the size of refrigerators or whatever, where the paint actually started just falling off the inside of the towel. And once the paint dried, or the water was no longer pressing on the outside and falling in, the paint started to laminate. Now, it appears that it was just to some of the panels in there, just a few of the panels in the inside of the tank. But what I did was I had them actually go and take the sandblaster and sandblast around those particular panels. But in talking to the contractors and also to the paint suppliers, the only way to really know, my concern is, from the inspection side, is do we really know if there's other loose spots in there in the tank, on other sides, you know, on other parts of that, where a month from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, that isn't gonna come loose, even after we fill the tank back up again, and that's not going to delaminate from the you know, the substrate, and now we're gonna get rust spots in there. So I looked at that and said, what we really need to do is we really need to do what's called a brush blast, which is a sand blast in the inside, not take down the entire inside of the tank to bare level, but to go through and sandblast that to, it's a specification called SSPC7, and what it does basically is it goes through and it'll blast anything that's loose on the inside of the tank, and it'll blast any loose paint off the inside of the tank. We then have to, the only problem with that is we then have to go in and we have to coat the inside of the tank. We recoat all of the inside of the tank. But I think that's the best way for us to take care of that. Now, the good part of it is, I guess, is after looking at, there's a wet portion of the inside of the tank. That's where the water is contained. There's also a dry inner portion of the tank, which is the inside. I knew I was going to talk about this, so I brought a picture. This is the wet portion of the tank right here, okay, where the water is contained. This is the dry portion of the tank. Up here, this is where the access tube is. The access tube actually goes up through the middle of the wet portion of the tank. What we had done was we had planned on doing that dry blasting, that SSPC7 blast in the inside of this. There was some additional rust spots in here, not bad, but more than there was in here, okay, in the wet portion of this. This in here, because of the cellular antennas up on top up here, and because of the ladder in here, this is more tricky in sandblasting in the inside of this. So we talked to what they were going to do is they were going to do this SSPC7 blasting in the inside of this in here and recoat the entire inside of this. Okay. So we looked at the inside of this and we said any of the rusted areas in here can easily be power tool cleaned, touched up, and primed and painted with not any problem at all. Okay. What we can do is we can have the contractor go in, sandblast the entire inside of this, recoat all of this so that we know that this is perfectly good now. We don't have to worry about this for the next 15, 20 years. They will do all of this, okay, for an additional, I'll say only an additional $5,000 so that this is taken care of, and then they will still go in and power tool clean any bad spots that are in here and touch all of this up.
So we're flip-flopping the interior.
We're flip-flopping the interiors, basically. The wet interior for the full sandblast, for the touch-up in these areas here.
How much more might it cost if we were to stay with the full sandblast for the entire tower?
For the entire tower, it would probably be more in the neighborhood of, if we stayed with this and had to redo all of this, we'd probably be in the neighborhood of probably between 20 to 30,000.
I thought it was even higher than that.
I didn't get an exact price from Linda. That's
Okay.
what I'm going off of.
Okay.
And the reason being is because And I asked him about that because I expected that this was gonna be even more to get this from there. The price of going around all those coax cables and all of that other stuff because of all of that cell cable, they said they have to be so careful when they sandblast around all of that, around all of those cables, because they can damage it. They had so much time in that, in their cost for going around that. That's why the trade-off, that they can blast so much faster here, that they can do so much bigger, a bigger area in the same amount of time.
Do you think in the near future, say 5 years or less, that we will have to sandblast the dry portion at all?
I think if we just make sure that all of the areas that are done in there, the only thing that I'm concerned about in the dry area here is the standpipe that carries the water up through here, under the insulation in there. This past year, we had a problem where the sample tap in there basically rusted off because it had corroded so bad. That's the only part that I'm really concerned about in that dry area, that dry part.
Can that be machine brushed?
That can be machine cleaned, power tool cleaned. I just want to make sure that all of that is done really good, and I'm going to have him still sandblast those areas in there. If we have any extra at all, it might be in making sure that all of that is cleaned real good and done. I just want to make sure that that is done really good before.
Is doing it this way going to come back and bite us in a few years, and we're going to have to go spend the money at potentially an increased rate because everybody's rates goes up over time?
Mm-hmm.
Or does it make more sense if we can figure out the financial end of it to do the full sandblasting now?
I can get a price from him. And
I'm asking your opinion.
yeah, I don't think so, just because it's not, if it was really bad in the inside of, if it was really bad in the inside of this tube, I would say yes. I wouldn't be recommending for us to do the power tool cleaning and the touch-up and the priming and the paint. I would say yes, let's do the blasting. It's not that bad.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Yeah.
Rich,
Go ahead, Richard.
you had mentioned that some of the paint was falling off in the stem.
No, not in the stem.
Oh.
Up here.
Oh, okay.
That's
so-
in this part here.
Okay, so none of that
Yeah.
is happening.
And if you look at that picture, if you see that picture, that's right about in this area right here, is where that's flaking off. There's another section that's not shown in a picture, that's up and about, like in a section like right up in here.
I just wanted to.
It was basically the water pressure that was holding it
That was
up.
holding the paint out.
Yes.
In 5-7 years' time, all of a sudden, we need to paint stuff. Do we have to drain the whole water tower again?
No, you don't.
Okay, so it's
That's
just
why
a matter
that's why I want to make sure that this is taken care of. This area up here is taken care of. We don't want to go back and do this again.
That's what I was gonna say.
We don't want to go back and do this again.
I don't want to have to water my lawn again, Rick. It's terrible.
Should I ask you a couple other questions in general about the water tower? Specifically, not specifically because you won't give a promise. When are they going to finish?
Well, we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Can we hold off on a
All
second?
right, then let me ask this question, and if it needs to be delayed, that's fine too. The tanks that we have, evidently, and I may be wrong on this, so stand me corrected, stood empty for a couple of weeks because the company wasn't out here to begin work on the tower. Is that accurate? The truck tanks is,
Yeah, they were delivered on the 13th
and,
of May. The project was supposed to start the 15th,
okay,
and then we got delayed by, I think that's when we had the big storms.
The 50,
Yeah.
55 mile an hour.
and I think, okay.
Yeah.
How long before the tanks were actually placed into use after arrival? Because what I heard, and then once again, it's not necessarily sound information, is that the tanks stood empty for a while because crews weren't working, and we ended up paying money for those tanks or rented on them, and they were not in use. If I'm wrong, kindly tell me.
No, there's truth to that statement, yes. That they were delivered, there was delay, so I wanna say,
We were probably about 2 weeks behind.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
now, is that because the thing, here's what I'm going after. They sat there for 2 weeks, we paid for them, the company was not here to hook them up or get things started. How can we get some money back?
So we'll have to negotiate with that with them.
Is that a fair question on my part?
Is that a fair question, given that it was a weather delay?
That's what we'll have to negotiate with them. We'll have to look at that and see.
Okay, so you don't have any additional pricing yet, because I know you were gonna negotiate.
From the tank companies, yeah, I've asked them to look at it and see if they can price up something better for us. Yeah, I haven't gotten anything back from them.
Okay.
And that leads to the final thing, we're gonna have to pay for these tanks, and it sounds like the project is elongating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need to continue paying this rent. Now, if it's because of the condition of the tank, that's not in any company's control, but if it's because of work delays on the company's part, crew's not available or whatever, I'd like at least to research the possibility of, let's split the cost of it.
Right, and let's finish walking through the series of events, and then I think
Okay.
that'll cover some of that, but yes, you're right. Right, and then some trustees down here, John, you had a question?
Oh, I asked.
You did, okay. Georgina, did you have another question?
Yeah, I just wondered, what kind of a warranty do we have on this project?
It's from the paint side from the
Paint manufacturer.
That hasn't changed since we adopted it, right?
yeah, the floor chem, which will be on the outside portion of the tank is, I don't know, I'll have to go back and look at
I think
that.
we got a
We all should have a
I
package.
just didn't remember, I just followed.
The interior bill, is there any guarantee on that? The
The
wet portion?
Yeah, the only problem with doing the brush blasting over the top of this is Sherwin-Williams won't, because we're going over the top of another chemical or another paint surface or whatever, they won't warranty the paint over the top of another coating. Now, as the paint rep has told me, in the 25 years or whatever that he's done it, he's never had a failure.
Have them sign a document.
Okay.
Well,
We thought we had a tower with a ladder in it. We'd like to see pictures and in writing.
And when I brought it up to the painting contractor said, well, that doesn't matter. He said, no matter what happens anyway, he said, the paint guys always blame it on us anyway. So he said, if there's any problems, he said, we'll end up taking care of it anyhow.
So essentially, we have no guarantee on the interior of the tank.
And the interior, yeah, so.
Now, did Jetco also offer that they might,
Jetco said if there was any issues with it, that they would take care of it.
so can we get that right?
Yeah. Well, I can ask them before.
Let's try to
Or at least
get that,
recording something.
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Now,
How late are they going warranty
I'll talk to Jetco. I'll talk to Jetco and.
Or is it 5 years,
See,
10
yeah.
years? Or-
my question is, there's more to it than.
well, that's a new question. You're right.
Yeah.
What?
Next.
The warranty information is contractor warrants and guarantees for a period of 2 years from the date of substantial completion. The system, of the system. So it's 2 years.
Interior?
It just talks about the whole project. Yeah, 2 years. 2-year guarantee.
From the contractor, but that's not the paint guarantee.
It's not the coating.
Yeah, the paint coating has a large.
Coating is a 5-year manufacturing warranty.
Coating, the floor chemical.
Yeah, and I believe the Florichem even has a longer coating.
Right.
Yeah, I thought we
The
had
Florichem is like
I thought it was like 10 years.
It's like 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I go back then.
We did this.
On the wet portion, should we do it, spend more money on it, and do it right, strip it down to bare metal, and then coat it?
Since we have.
You know what, I'm gonna cut us off for a little bit, because I think we're getting on to the business section of the water tower here,
Okay.
instead of just talking the public works report. So why don't we move through, I think there's some other people that would like to leave, and then we'll continue. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. All right, because we were in the public works report, we were talking about some recent occurrences, and now we've kind of gone through to the whole thing we're gonna cover under business, I think. That's it, right? Okay.
Don't forget my question, because I might.
Okay.
No, we haven't noted it down. Okay, so Jeff.
One more thing. I just want to make the board aware about our Emerald Ash Borer program. It was targeted to start June 30th. That has been delayed. Weather conditions and water tower conditions and issues. We are planning on implementing that starting July 15th, given the tree cut downs and such. I do say that all residents have received, or should have received, a letter. I will send a follow-up letter just to make sure that they are aware that this week, week of the 15th, these things will be happening. We've heard from several residents. Most, we share tears. It's a very devastating thing, and everybody understands. So I just want to let everybody know that just everything this year with the weather just keeps sliding backwards, but we're getting caught up real quick. That's all I got.
Okay, at this time, we would get our building official report, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Aki Mishima. Welcome, Aki. Further on down on business, we will be adopting a contract, short-term contract. Aki did come into the village hall yesterday and spent time with Russ. They went through the neighborhood, they went over the day-to-day operations. Aki got to meet the staff and talk with us all, and if you've all had a chance to review his credentials, you can see that he's more than qualified for the job, and I think that he's going to be a welcome addition to the staff and bringing us through the summer season with building permits. So Aki, welcome.
And usually I give you don't go this long.
We thought we'd start you off with a humdinger. Our EMA coordinator could not be here tonight. He had another commitment, but he did forward a report for me to share with you, or some comments. He would like everyone to know that July is Heat Safety Month, and Emergency Management has provided information for an article in the upcoming July newsletter, so watch for that. He'd also like to thank the residents for the positive feedback that he's been getting regarding the contributions to the newsletter. And his goals, as well as public safety, is to provide interesting and informative articles in regards to disaster preparation and mitigation. Also, the residents are reminded, once again, continue to maintain your emergency preparedness kits by adding or cycling out and replacing at least one item each month, items such as water, food, medicine, etc. And boy, with the amount of storm alerts that we've gotten, I would encourage you to do exactly that. Next up is our treasurer, Kelly Hensley.
Thank you. Just real brief, the auditors were in here June 10th. They were here Monday through Thursday. It went very smooth. I was able to give them a lot of stuff, scanning it via email before they even were in-house, and they were starting to work on it behind the scenes. I'm waiting on a couple of journal entries for them to figure out. We're kind of waiting for the state on some of their postings of some sales tax revenue, and that's so we can get the final posting out there. And we'll be reviewing the reports of that coming shortly. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kelly. Village Clerk Kathy Metzler.
Basically, I sent in the challenge for the census, Roseanne and I worked on that, and got that sent off, and we've been received, and they are going to get back to us.
Okay, and that was quite a job that they had to submit on that project. Okay, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Recent news, Groot has filed their siting application. It was filed for the Village of Round Lake Park on June 21st. Swelco just uploaded it to their website and forwarded it to me this afternoon. So we will put a link on our website tomorrow or Thursday. And now the next chain of events is there will be public hearings 90 days out and no later than 120 days. And so basically we have 90 days to review their siting application, which has to include various reports. Swelco and us as members of Swelco will review the reports. We will also review them separately. So I am waiting for Swelco to forward that information to us with their comments. And the ones that were of great interest to us is the traffic study and also the housing value impact study. So those will be forwarded to Greg Ruin and Al Maiden for their assistance on that as soon as we receive that. And we may also, certainly will review all of it, but we'll see what also Swelco's recommendations are. So as that information comes forward, I will be sharing that with everyone, and that will be certainly a topic of the July board meeting.
Is this for the construction recycling stuff or for the?
Transfer station.
No,
Transfer station.
this is for the transfer station.
Okay, because I didn't know how far along each of those things.
Well,
The other thing
this
is
is done.
finished.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the actual siting application.
For the,
Yeah,
for the.
yeah, for the other.
transfer station.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's a done deal,
No,
this
no,
is
but
the
I
process.
just
Yeah,
wanted to make
yeah.
sure which project was.
Yeah, that is the project. Also, this past Saturday, I know Georgianne, you're gonna comment on the community cleanup, but I just wanna thank you and George for your efforts on Saturday, and I'm proud that you had the turnout that you did, and I'll let you elaborate on that. And then I also want to talk about the electronic recycling. Jeff Gately and our crew did a great job, and we did better than the last time. We filled an entire semi-trailer, right, Jeff? The amount of TVs that came in this time was unbelievable. And it's the big, huge, monstrous ones. And he can be glad that he had some of those kids to help lift this stuff, because boy, there was a lot of TVs. We were able to salvage a working one. So we will make use of that on these weather alert days when we get cable hooked up. Also, another item of note, I know that they're still working on details, but as I mentioned previously, Hainesville Fest will be skipped this year, and we are looking to bring it back in 2014 for a full weekend rather than a one-day event. In lieu of the event, this year we're going to do a concert in the park. And we have 2 volunteer residents who have been chairing and coordinating this event. So what I can tell you is mark Saturday, September 7th. That is the Saturday following Labor Day weekend. There will be a concert in the park. It will be at Union Square Park, a different setup. The stage will be placed a bit differently on the grass area facing Hainesville Road, so the sound goes out to mainly the street as much as possible. And it'll be a Ravinia type concert where you can come with your chairs and your blankets and your picnic baskets. The Legion Hall has confirmed that they will provide their beer tent, and our Grays Lake business known as Wine Knows will have their wine and craft beer tent. So they will provide alcohol refreshments, and the Legion will also provide soft drinks and bottled water for non-alcohol beverages. And then we ask everybody to only bring in non-drinkable items in their picnic baskets. So I think it'll be a nice event. They're confirming the band information. I'll let them announce that, and they might have one other added surprise. But I think it'll be a nice event. Not something that's really nearly as expensive, but I think very enjoyable for the community. And September 7th is kind of nice. Everybody's back from vacation, everybody's back in school, but hopefully the weather's still nice enough that we can come out and have a nice concert in the park. And I think that's all I have at this time. Obviously, we've been very busy tending to a lot of things, and I've been attending a lot of meetings and troubleshooting some things. Let's move on to our standing committees. Finance, Trustee Daly.
Just a reminder that because of less revenue from the state, we've put a number of projects or expenditures on hold until the result of our audit. So we'll have an indication at that point of unspent funds from this just past fiscal year. The sad side of this is every time something such as the water tower comes up or additional funds, those unspent funds shrink. So we'll just have to wait and see and do the best we can. And that's all I got.
Okay. Public Works, Trustee Walkington.
Let's see, I think we have a meeting that the mayor and Jeff and I were gonna get together on capital improvements or whatever the heck we're gonna do a while ago, but we haven't had time to get together yet, the last public works.
But we're really good at troubleshooting, aren't we?
We're getting a lot, you guys are getting a lot of conflict. So we had a public works meeting canceled because of the storm, and the next meeting will be the second Wednesday in July.
So be there.
We'll try to
We'll try
to have
again.
a meeting and try to get some things accomplished.
Sounds good.
A public works question.
Yes.
I'm not expecting that. Only because I happen to ride by it with some regularity. The water fountain, our favorite water fountain by the water tank pond was out again today.
It was unplugged.
That would explain it. And I guess also, well, I'll save it for public safety. That's it, thank you.
Yeah, that fountain, for whatever reason, once a week is getting clogged. And we've been out the first week we turned it on, we've been out in a boat every week, taking the filter off, trying to clean it, putting it back on. So as of right now, it's unplugged until we can get the LG control in that pond.
Were the other various water fountains repaired, the ones that were busted up?
The other actually went this afternoon, they're en route. They have been rebuilt.
At their expense?
Yeah, warranty work.
I did tell Dave Coulter about it, and I don't know if he got in touch with you, but
Not yet.
go ahead and give him a call and.
Okay, I'll look at it tomorrow.
That's coming up.
Okay. Public Safety, Trustee Priest.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I want to talk about is
The Blackhawks.
Blackhawks. Great game, great series, everything else. So that's what I support. I just wanted to talk about on May 15th, May with Mayor Silva, when I met with Lake County Division of Traffic on the RRFB, and if you're not familiar with that, it's the rectangular rabbit flashing beacon that we're trying to put on Tall Oak and Hainesville Road. It's going to be a wireless remote where you press a button, it will flash, give drivers warning that pedestrians in the crosswalk and to stop. That we met, we gave them all the information that we had and what we need to do to comply for with their permit. We did some minor changes to it, got a requote. Actually, the quote came in $1,300 less because Lake County did donate extra signage. They put it up already, saying that we might have needed a little bit more, and we could take that signage down and use it for when we put up our RFPs. Permit has been
In there tomorrow.
It'll be in there tomorrow. Okay, so everything's all done, ready to be put in tomorrow. We had a public safety meeting today. We just reviewed the police report that we got, and that's about it.
Thank you. spaces. Trustee Nuberstein.
Yes, well, as you mentioned, we had a cleanup on Saturday, and God smiled on us. The rain stopped at 9 o'clock and started up again at 11:30, and it was just the time we needed to get the job done. We had 10 students from the National Honor Societies of Grace Lake High School, Central High School, and Brown Lake High School, and we had 5 residents, besides myself, that
And George.
well, I was counting him.
Oh, okay, all right.
Working on this, and I think I don't know how many miles he put on the car, just driving around to each of the kids to either pick up something or drop off something, and, but it did go very well, and we appreciate everybody's help. The next wetlands meeting will be July 11th instead of the 4th, since it's a holiday, so make note if you're interested in attending. There are, I have several other hats to report on. The Great Age Club had a tour of the Lincoln exhibit at the Grace Lake Heritage Center, and it was very interesting and informative, and everyone seemed to enjoy it. It was a really unique experience that Grace Lake was only one of 11 places in the whole country that had this exhibit, so I was impressed. We're having a village-wide garage sale on Saturday, July 20th, and Sunday, July 21st, from 9 to 3. And the Salvation Army will pick up everybody's leftovers, those that are interested, on Thursday, the 25th of July. Anyone who's interested in participating needs to contact me to sign up, so that they can have their address listed on the village map that people pick up on the day of the garage sale. As the Hainesville representative to BEST, which is bringing everyone's strengths together, it's a coalition of organizations whose goal is the improvement of the Brown Lake community. They are interested in increasing parent involvement and are having a planning meeting at McGee Middle School cafeteria on July 23rd at 9 a.m. Just to keep you posted as to what's going on, and there will be activities that are going to be planned to accomplish their goal. And and then I did mention the Read to Succeed with my personal hand. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, as I begin my second term as mayor, third if you count my previous one, 97 to 2001, I am happy to reappoint as treasurer Kelly Hensley, as village clerk Kathy Metzler, and as deputy clerk Roseanne Stark. And I would like each of them to step forward. Or Kathy, you can stay where you are. We'll make you walk around. Come on.
Do we have any choice in this?
No.
Oh, okay.
You get a sign?
Okay. What does it say? I go by the order here?
However you want to do it.
Okay. All right. We will start with the village clerk. I'll go with the first on the agenda. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I state your name. Kathy Metzler.
Having been appointed to the office of village clerk
Having been appointed to the office of village clerk
in the village of Hainesville,
in the village of Hainesville,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of said office of the village of Hainesville,
of said office of the village of Hainesville,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Next up is our treasurer, Kelly Hensley. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Kelly Hensley,
Having been appointed to the office of treasurer
having been appointed to the office of treasurer
in the village of Hainesville
in the village of Hainesville
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will,
of said office
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
of the village of Hainesville
of the village of Hainesville
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard. Did we say the best for last, Roseanne? Deputy Clerk. I state your name.
I, Roseanne Stark,
Having been appointed to the office of Deputy Clerk
having been appointed to the office of Deputy Clerk
in the village of Painesville
in the village of Hainesville
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
of the village of Painesville
of the village of Hainesville
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. You guys get an extra cupcake. Okay, we have given Aki our quite a first board meeting. They don't usually have this one. We have a purchase of service contract for building official Aki Mishima. And I would like to ask for a motion of approval.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Trustees Dernoski,
Aye.
Kreese.
Aye.
Duberstein.
Aye.
Barrett.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Waddington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, you are set to go.
Thank you.
And Aki, you are welcome to stay, but if you would like to leave, you are welcome to. And on Thursday morning, when you're here, we will both sign your contract and you'll leave with a signed copy. So I know you have had a long day, so if you would like to leave, you can do so.
Thank you very much.
That's good.
Okay, item 3 is the approval for additional funds not to exceed $16,000 for additional expenses on the water tower project. And this now will go back to where we were, okay? We're talking about items that have occurred, and how I arrived at this $16,000 figure right away is Rick already talked about a $5,000 figure for the flip-flopping.
Right.
Okay, we're flip-flopping, or at least proposing to it, and Jerry, you had some good questions regarding that. There's another part which we haven't touched on that we ordered. It was a $3,000 part, and it was a new soft start for well 3. So we're going to discuss that in a moment. So that's $8,000, is that?
That was 3,000.
3,000.
You're up to
3,000. I'm up to 8, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, and then we also ordered a ladder.
For 8,000.
I thought it was 9.
9.
I thought it was 89.50 or something.
Yeah.
But we had some extra money, right? Did we say we had some little extra money somewhere?
We,
No, in the
In the existing contract?
in the existing contract.
So you need 16, you're at, this motion would ask for 16,000 additional above the contract.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
But it will still cover the 3 projects you discussed.
Yes, yeah.
Correct.
So those are some of the recent expenditures. And I want to make an item of note. There's been past elections, thankfully not in this town, but I'm going to remind everybody, there was an election, not the recent one, this is going back a few years, and it involved the township. And it was a nasty election, and there was some dirt thrown around about how much money was spent for a ladder. Now you know how things can get misconstrued, because I want you to understand, we have ordered a ladder that cost us $8,950. So think about that. Just food for thought.
This is not your normal folding ladder.
Do we need a motion and then to discuss?
No,
Well, I think that we may want to have some discussion first, because you raised the question if we should spend additional monies.
Well, does it make more sense to strip it down to bare metal, recoat it so we can have the longest manufacturer guarantee possible? Or are you satisfied that the approach that would be covered by this amount will last us for a long time?
Yeah, and
you'll place your foot
as we went through, as you guys were going through the rest of the agenda and that type of thing, I was writing myself some notes and going through that. Typically, the product is not what fails. Typically it's the workmanship is what fails. When you look at the tank and what happened here before, it was not the product that failed. It was the workmanship that failed. It was the prep, the improper surface preparation that failed, and what led to the shortened life of what happened here. And so when you look at the additional expense that you would have of sandblasting the interior of that tower to what's called an SSPC-10, which means to blast all of that paint off the inside, which would be a chore, okay? In order to take that down, you would be talking, let's say, 2 semi-loads of grit in order to blast that off. And in order to do that, you'd probably be looking at a cost of probably $50,000 to $60,000 more to take that down. And for a guarantee of a workmanship guarantee of, same thing, 2 years, Greg, is what the
2 years is the workmanship.
of the workmanship guarantee, okay, which you're going to have anyway. You're going to have a 2-year workmanship guarantee, and to have a product guarantee of 10 years on there, which is what the
Is that your 5 years for the product?
for the product.
For the paint.
Yeah, for the paint. And I believe Sherwin, I mean, we do enough projects with Sherwin-Williams where those guys, when they tell me that when they've done this on literally hundreds of tanks, water tanks, wastewater treatment plants, and everything like that over existing product, not only their own product, but other products as well, and in 30 years, they've never had one fail. They wouldn't tell me that if that wasn't true. And so for that, I'll take their word for it. And so to spend $50,000 or $60,000 for that, I think it'd be a waste of money. I really do.
I also want to just expand that when you say prep, that there was not proper prep done, what that means. And so my understanding of that is that the surface wasn't cleaned properly.
That's right.
And my guess, since it was a new tent, these were tank or new sheets of metal that were assembling this tank, that there may have been an oil residue
Yes.
on there.
Yeah, on the inside,
Yeah,
on the inside of the tank.
right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah, and that happens, what we're looking at where this paint could actually have come, where the paint, like what's called delaminated from there and basically fell off. A lot of times when they are doing the new tanks, when they're building this, they actually prime this at the factory, or when they're doing that, and a lot of times they don't clean the metal surface enough, or they don't clean it properly before they're priming it. And so in this instance, it appears that just one plate or a couple of plates of that entire water tower, when it was being built, didn't get primed properly, got welded together, got painted, and, got built, got filled up, and now, here it is, that's this many years later, water gets drained out of it, and remember, when it was painted the last time, it wasn't drained. And so.
But the tank was never repainted in the inside.
In the inside, it was never repainted in the inside, so.
So you're confident in the practice that they're doing now, that everything should be fine?
And that's why I feel that this should be done on the inside, because if there is any other loose paint in the inside, this will expose it. This will take care of it. I'll put my hands.
Rick, one other question. You said that the installation of the antennas that were put on the tank years ago also damaged the inside of the tank because of the heat of the welding.
Yeah.
Going on in the future from now on, should we not allow any welding to be done after?
When it's done, if it is done, we make them fix it the right way. Yeah, that was not done before.
But the thing is, do we have them also look at it and say, let's do an inspection of our tank on the inside to see if any damage was caused?
Well, that is being done now.
No, I'm just saying, if we have any work.
If we have any done, oh yeah, absolutely.
That would be one of our recommendations.
Absolutely. Whenever anything like that is done, that's one of the things that you automatically have to do, because anytime there's any welding in the tank on the outside, it automatically damages the coating on the inside.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that's typically, or a lot of times, is forgotten.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying, now we should
Yep.
incorporate that into the flow, that this is what needs to be
Right.
done and checked. Say a year after, basically, because it's like, you might not even show damage right away.
No, it will show damage right away. Yeah. But because it's on the inside, they don't look at it.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
All right, Jeff, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm just tired or just all the stuff starting to run together. Going back to the soft start, okay, before we decided that we should replace the soft start, we had the first alarm, which actually was not a true alarm. We got notified from the residents and dispatched.
Correct.
Right. Now, I'm trying to recall, when we had that first alarm, where the portable tanks that Jerry's questioning, were those already